you ever been at a party or at a social function, and while you're talking to someone, they're talking to you, half interested, doing something more important than looking at you because they're on their phone? The interesting thing about it is that by today's modern social norms, if they're looking over your shoulder, or if they're looking at their watch, if they're just really not interested in you, we would say that this kind of person is ill-mannered. They are someone that you don't really want to associate with. They have bad manners, bad etiquette. But by today's social norms, if that very same person's not looking over your shoulder to see someone more interesting than you, but instead they're tapping away at their phone, we would not consider that person to have bad manners. We would consider them wired, jet-setter, connected, hip, cool. We don't consider what used to be considered bad manners today by the same standard. The digital revolution has actually made it fashionable to be really rude. The BlackBerry was the first smartphone, and it was introduced in the year 2003. And in only 10 years, 2013, 1 billion smartphones are now in circulation around the globe. And how has this new phenomenon of technology, where we carry all of the internet's information in our pocket, how has it affected us? For the good or for the bad? Most smartphone users use their phone multiple times during the day and actually never truly disconnect. Even when they are disconnected, they're still thinking about the conversation they just had. Has he texted me? Is she going to write me? What's the new high score on my game? Should I go harvest the gold? You know, these are the things that occupy our minds even during our work day. And we have a fear of being without the smartphone, and it's called nomophobia. There's a name for it. You can look it up in the dictionary. No mobile phone. No-mo-phobia. I didn't make that up. That's real. And it's that rush of anxiety that you get when you see, oh my gosh, I don't have my phone. I left it, and now I'm at a social event, and I feel naked because I have no way to check my text messages. I can't get to my Facebook. Maybe you'll have to borrow somebody else's phone just to log in so that you can get your fix. So 10 years has brought us some incredible advancements in technology, but it's also brought us a rise in violations of etiquette, or as is commonly called, net-etiquette. Netiquette. Things which have to do with good manners of using the internet or smartphones. So you've all been there where you're dining with a family member or a close friend, maybe that you haven't seen in a long while. And you're really upset because they're more interested in their phone than they are you. And this is supposed to be your family. This is supposed to be your best friend. You're the living one there. The other inanimate object, who knows what they're doing on their phone? Texting while talking. A stranger that you don't even know, but you know you don't like them because you paid $10 to go to this movie, and their screen is glowing right in front of you during the entire movie. I went to a Chinese restaurant a month ago, and it was not the healthiest meal, and I feel guilty about it now, having heard the prior speech. But during the meal, I don't get a lot of meals alone. Usually they're with family, and there's kids, and there's a lot of noise, and that's great. I enjoy that too. But when I do get an opportunity to eat a meal alone, I savor sometimes the silence and the solitude. As soon as I sat down, a group of 5 kids entered with their parents, and they proceeded with their iPads and iPhones to play their video games, and they didn't have headphones. The music, the sound effects, the sword clashing, the gold mining, it was all there in the Chinese restaurant, and it was right next to me, and I was about to lose my mind. And I don't normally do this, but I just immediately, as soon as I saw this was going to be my entire dinner experience, I picked up everything from the table, And without asking the waiter, I moved to the place I wanted to sit in the restaurant. And the waiter saw what I had done, and he came by later and he just said, I don't blame you. He says, we get this all the time. And it's becoming more and more of a phenomenon. And I think that as time goes on, and as this next generation is raised with this technology, they're also going to be raised with a certain rudeness, unless that rudeness is curbed. Anthony DeRosa, product manager and programmer at Reuters, said that mobile connectedness has actually eroded our fundamental human courtesies. Think about that. They've eroded our fundamental human courtesies. And he says, it's funny, I'm fine with people stopping to go check their phone from time to time. But when I'm standing in front of someone in the middle of a conversation with them and they pick up their phone to look at it, I immediately walk away from them, in mid-sentence if necessary. Because he says, if they're going to be rude to me, then I have no problem being rude to them. And that's from a project manager at Reuters who's very famous. Now, how many of you in this room have smartphones? Raise your hand, please. Everybody. How many of you would you consider, do you think, that you have basically good manners with your phone? Raise your hand. And that's exactly it. Almost 10 out of 10 of you said that you have good manners. According to internet expert Julie Spira of the Huffington Post, she says in any time that question is asked, you'll get a minimum of 9 out of 10 people say they have good manners. And yet, that's not exactly our experience day to day. So I'm sure you all have very good manners. You have great listening skills right now, and I appreciate that. But we do know that most people, most of the time, it's not 9 out of 10. It's probably 3 out of 10 that actually have those manners. And we see it, even our families and with our friends. A poll conducted for Nokia says that the 3 things that make us just go crazy are people using their phones without earbuds in airports or movie theaters or restaurants. That's number 1. Number 2, people talking too loudly just on their phone. That's called cell yell. Cell yell. And number 3, people who use their phone at the movies for texting or chatting or Facebook or whatever it might be, or talking. Those are the 3 things. And we know we all have this urge. It's a human urge to use our phone. In fact, I really feel compelled to use it right now during this speech, but I shouldn't, because I don't want my grade to be docked. It's a temptation. And why is it such a pull for me to pick this phone up? Because first of all, we might not realize it, but as humans, we have a certain pull towards anything that's glowing. My eyes keep looking at these lights, and I shouldn't, but they're glowing. I have a desire to look at the LCD screens in Best Buy. I have a desire to look at the phone that is glowing. Someone else might just turn their phone on, but my eyes are drawn to their phone. So that's number 1, connectivity to many people, many things. Think about it. When I open my phone up and I turn on and I log on, I can connect to anyone I want in my contact list. Whereas if I'm in the real life, I've got you, and you. Reality is telling me, I got to talk to these few people in here and I don't even know their names and I don't really like them either. And I would really like to escape to the video game I was playing. That is why it's such a pull to pull out our phone. We're hampered by reality. We might not like reality, so we escape. Number 3 is applications. If you don't like Pandora right now, you can open Facebook. And if Facebook is boring, you can open your game. If your game is boring, you check your email. Check your email, go do some work. There's a million different applications you can do. And if you're tired of all of them, download something else. And then control. You're in control when you have your phone. So we've looked for just a little bit. Phones are ubiquitous. They're all over. They're not going away. We all have them in our pockets right now. Bad habits are being incurred because of the phones. And unfortunately, our tendency is when we're confronted with someone who's really rude, and they pick up their phone in front of us, instead of us going, oh, I can't believe you, instead of us scolding them, do you know what our tendency is? To emulate, to do the exact same thing, because we feel like, oh my gosh, you're looking at your phone, maybe I should look at my phone. And that's why you have instances where there could be 10 or 20 or 30 people in a room, and everyone at the same time is all looking at their phone. It's mutually assured distraction. And so we're seeing the problem come to light here, but I want to just review very quickly, very briefly, a couple of steps for good etiquette, certain rules that we can apply to our own lives, that instead of just pointing the finger at everybody, we can actually start setting an example, start setting certain standards for our own lives. Number one, according to the Pew Research Center, they recommend this first of all, and I recommend it too. I think it's important. Whatever you do, begin it at home. Because whatever happens at home, if you can apply a rule of life at home, then odds are you'll be able to apply it in any other situation you're at. But if you don't have the strength of will to do it at home, you're not going to be able to do it at the theater, at the pool, at the school, or anywhere else. So, for example, a couple of rules you could set for yourself, and this is completely up to you. You guys can set your own rules. No phones at the dinner table, ever. No phones ever during homework. Take it out of the room and put it away. Because you know, during homework, you keep going back to it every couple minutes. You keep going back to it. You think, how much would I actually really learn in this class if I just didn't even have a smartphone? Phones off completely by a certain hour in the evening. Let's say 9:30. Every 9:30, my phone shuts off, and it's done. Could you imagine? I mean, it might be really hard at first. That'd be like no potato chips, period. I mean, I know it's hard, and I don't think I could even do it, but I'm giving you these examples of certain rules that you could apply to your life. Number two, the New York Times editors say that these things should be considered. Number two, respect for the people that are actually in your presence. As opposed to the people that are in your phone, look around at the real human, living, breathing creatures that are right next to you and give them precedence over your electronic phone. Be present and aware of your situation, of your surroundings, with people that are sharing your space physically. Glance at a text message, but don't start writing a composition under your friend's nose. Put it away when you're at lunch with your friends. Put it away. Try not to do the things that tick you off. Try not to do those same things to your friend. And instead of tweeting about your experiences with your friends, just be with your friends. The best way to validate your friend and family's importance in your life is not to tweet and take pictures of it. It's to actually be there with them in that moment. And then 5, learn and try to form the self-will to actually turn the phone off from time to time. Whether it be at a designated time of the day, actually see if you have the strength. Make it a test of the will, just a test for yourself. Can I actually do this? It's kind of like dieting, but it's dieting from electronics. Learn to spend time to really engage one-on-one with your family and friends and actually relax your brain. And then think, boy, with all the time I'm saving, what could I actually do as a hobby with my free time? And then, to conclude, I think it's important. You might wonder why. Who cares? I mean, most of the people I interact with on a day-to-day, who cares if I've got my phone and they see me texting? It doesn't matter. I don't care about them. Okay, I don't do it with my family, but what's the point? Why do I need good manners? Why is that even important? Why should I care? And I think that's a good question. I mean, I think in anything we do, we should ask why. And I think there's a couple of good principles. One, it shows respect for our neighbor. It just shows respect, basic common courtesy, just for the people around us, whether they're family, friends, or the strangers in our class. Build social bridges. If you really want to get somewhere in life, in the business world, You better not upset future employers by looking out of touch and out of tune, by being too engaged in your phone and not engaged in them. They're going to say, if he's like this in a social atmosphere, what's he going to be like once I'm paying him? Number 3 is helps us to actually avoid conflict. You'd be surprised what happens to people's blood pressure when they get upset by the stuff that goes on around them, when there's rudeness at stake. Makes us look good also. I mean, if someone has good manners, good table manners even, good phone manners, that etiquette, it just makes you look like a professional. I mean, if someone was really highly paid, someone who was fashionable, I don't think they would be attached so much to this. We often associate bad manners with a lack of education, and we don't want that to be us. And then the last reason to do it is that it costs us nothing. We have everything to gain. We can gain the admiration or the respect or just the love of our family and friends if we actually put them first and put this in our pocket. And so we've seen the problem. We've seen the rise of all the phones. And I've given you a few simple solutions. And then I've given you some reasons why we should even be caring. And I, myself, probably break all of these rules occasionally or chronically, day to day. But as they say in recovery programs that I'm not in, it's progress, not perfection, that matters. Thank you very much.